You want to make some competition quality brisket? Watch this video and I'll show you how. Hey folks, welcome back to the Rock and Sea Homestead. My name is Lance. I want to welcome you to our channel. So today is 4th of July and we're cooking up a brisket for dinner tonight. We're going to have a bunch of people come over, watch some fireworks, so we're going to cook up some briskets and some other stuff, but this video is just about the brisket. As you can see, I have my charcoal chimney set up, and it's glowing. It's ready to go into the firebox. That's going to heat up this bad boy. So let's get that into the firebox real quick. So you can tell those things are ready. There we go. And it begins. So this is what we're going to use to cook the brisket today. This is a U.S. prime brisket. We're going to use some Cosmo injection, some of my own special little seasonings there, and then top it off with some sugar in the raw. And we're going to use a little bit of olive oil for some binder. So this is a full Packard brisket where it has the point and the flat. So for those that are new to cooking and you came over to watch this video to learn how to do this part of the cow, since this is beef, it comes off of the chest just like what your pectoral muscles would be for us. That's the same type of muscle structure they have, and that's actually where it comes. So this big chunk of fat here, I'm taking it all the way off, or as much as I can. Look at that, that's all that is. It's just fat that won't render down. So on the rest of this, you're not gonna be able to get all of it out. I just try to get as much as I can. And just try to get as much of this kind of silver skin, what they call it. It's just a little membrane. Don't have to remove it all. Since this is gonna be a backyard cook, it's not like I'm cooking this for a competition or anything like that, so I'm not as picky on it as if I was going to go to a competition on it. So I'm just going to score this edge off. Yeah, it's going to lose a little bit of the meat, but not much. And one thing this is going to allow me to do is see exactly how thick that fat cap is on the other side. But now you can see how thick or thin some of that fat cap is. And this shows you a good view of the two different muscle structures. So this is the point, and this is the flat coming down. The flat is a lot thinner, and the point is a lot more fattier. And this is what people make burn-ins with, if you've seen those kind of things. So, all right, I think that side's pretty much done. And on this, I'll try to get it to about 1/4 of an inch of fat. I don't like to leave too much on there, but you do want a little bit. So now since we've got the meat prepped, we're going to use this Cosmo Smokehouse Reserve Blend injection. This stuff is dynamite. I've used it before. For those that watch our channel, we know that we had a group come in to help us do a couple projects here on the homestead. And while they were here, I cooked some brisket for them, and that's the first time I used this Cosmo injection, and it is fantastic. So essentially it's going to get 1/3 of a cup of the injection to 2 cups of water. They're going to shake it up real well. And this has all kinds of stuff in it. It's supposed to be all natural, so for those that are worried about that, It is all natural. All right, so when it comes to injecting the meat, we have the injection, we have the little injector, all different kinds of sorts of different ones of these. But one of the things that I try to do is I was trying to stay with the grain. As you guys can see, the grain is going this way on the flat, and then it changes direction on the point. But so we're going to stick the injector in and shoot it this way. Then we'll flip it over, and then we'll shoot it that way on the point. And that's supposed to, especially if you're doing like a competition or anything like that, that kind of helps it from leaving marks on the meat after it's cooked. Now I'm doing this about 20 minutes before I put it onto the smoker. I have done this overnight and just let it set. In my opinion, it doesn't hurt anything. Now, if you're using a real salty injection or something like that, you may not want to do that, just because it could oversalt the meat. So now we're going to rub down the brisket here. I got my special seasoning. A little bit of salt and pepper, some of this, a little bit of that, you know, all that kind of fun stuff. So this is the rig we're going to use to smoke the brisket on. And like I said, a little later on, some other things are going to go on there. So got a little water pan in there for some moisture. So I put the point down to this side, closest to the fire. So that means so when that heat and smoke comes in, it hits that, and of course I have the fat cap up top. That all this protects the meat from really drying out. So there we go. It is on, and the clock is started. We'll come check it in a couple hours. Just gonna let it cook and just simmer and just smoke gloriously until it's finished up here. So check back in a couple hours. So it's about time. First, go check the brisket. It's been on the smoker now for 2 or 3 hours. I want to make up a little spray for it to keep it nice and moist. The first ingredient we're going to use is apple cider vinegar, a little bit of beef broth, and then some Worcestershire sauce, however you say that. And then just going to use this a little dab of liquid smoke just for a little bit of flavoring on it. And then we're going to shake it up and put it into the squeeze bottle and spray it onto the brisket. It's time to wrap this brisket, or some people like to call it the Texas cheat. But I use these white gloves to protect it from the heat. And I put the little latex or nitrile gloves over them to protect it from moisture. They work really well. Oh, this thing is looking good. Looking good. Get a little internal temperature on it. We're setting about 165, 164. So I like to tint mine up just like that for a second. And the rest of the juice that was in the spray bottle, come in here, pour that in the bottom of it. And try not to let it come out. I'm going to rotate it just a little bit so I can get it completely covered. And that baby's ready to go on the smoker again. So at this point, all we have to do is get this back up to temperature and just let it cook out. I usually will try to pull it around 195 to 200, and then I'll wrap it in towels, put it in an old ice chest, and let it rest for about an hour. And then after that, slice it up, and it is ready to go. All right, so I got the brisket pulled off of the smoker, and then one of the reasons I want to do this is I want to cut off the point portion of it, or at least a part of it, and I'm going to make some burnt ends. So for those that like the competition style, you will know what I'm talking about. Ooh, this thing is juicy. Now, one bad thing about using the Texas cheat or the full wrap, whatever you want to call it, it does kind of disturb the crust. So if you want a real hard bark, I would suggest not to wrap it. All right, just trying to see where this thing is going to be cut. Okay. All right, so I'm just going to cut it right here, straight down. If you can see that, that thing is just juicy. That is good. All right, so put this back in the juice. But for the burnt ends, so this is the piece that we're working with right here. And I'm just going to cube them up about half an inch cube, something like that. And cut it back this way. And then after that, we're going to put them in this little full pan, roll them with some barbecue sauce, and stick them back on the smoker. All right, so we got the burnt ends back on the smoker. I just wanted to come in here, show you there's a nice little smoke ring. I'm gonna cut a little bit off of this flat. I'm gonna rest this the rest of the time here, but I just wanna cut just a little bit of it off. Give a little test. And it's not completely against the grain there, but I think you guys will get the picture here. So definitely tender enough where it drips or drapes, but doesn't fall apart, but just comes apart. Just a little bit of nothing. It's awesome. So I'm just going to put this and wrap it and let it rest the rest of the time, and we're good to go. Well, the burnt ends are finished. Let me pull these off and I'll show them to you. And I've tasted one and they are glorious. It's a big thumbs up, let me tell you. So guys, hopefully you found this interesting and informative. Hey, if you haven't already, subscribe to our channel. There'll be a link down here. Click on that, we would appreciate it. Ring that bell. Hey, if you have any comments or any suggestions on how to do this any better, Leave them down below in the comments. And of course, from our homestead to yours, have a blessed day, and we'll catch you on the next video. Bye.